Hello, today I'm back from taking a little break. As you might have noticed, there wasn't an episode last week or the week before. And anyway, today I'm chatting about what to invest in for your business to be a success. So welcome to episode 18 of the Jessica Goodenough Podcast. I'm Jessica Goodenough and I help purpose-driven coaches and service providers find and convert more of their ideal clients with Instagram. I'm also a social media manager for busy vegan business owners. And on this podcast, I chat all about mindset, marketing, and plant-based positivity. So let's dive right in. So I said a little break in the introduction. I just stayed at home, but I thought it's the end of summer. It wasn't very summery though. Anyway, let's take some time off. And unfortunately now I have a cold, so you might hear that my voice sounds a bit gravelly. I was hoping I'd sound more like Moira Stewart, but not really. You'll know who she is if you're in the UK. She's a news broadcaster. Anyway, I think the first major news broadcaster of Caribbean descent in the UK. There you go, a bit of trivia for your Monday. Anyway, so I've got a cold, and so do other members of my family. My toddler has a cold, so if you do hear crying in the background, that's probably him, though I think he must be under control now. My partner's with him, of course. I haven't left a sick child on his own. Anyway, enough tangents. Everything I talk about today, and I mention the tools and the services and things, will be in the show notes, which as usual you can find at jessicagoodenough.com/episode 18. And if you're watching this on YouTube, they'll just be in the description down below. And if you enjoy this kind of content, normally I don't have this voice, but if you enjoy mindset, marketing, and plant-based positivity, please consider subscribing, whether that's on YouTube or in your podcast player. So I'm going to start with a quick preamble about when to invest, and then I'm going to move on to what to invest in. So when to invest in your business for it to be a success. And a quick note about success as well. I have a journaling call every Saturday with a wonderful group of women, and one of them, Cleo, whose Instagram I'll link to, because if you're into mindset and stuff, she's great. But it's in French, her content, just point that out. Anyway, she said something, and I'm not going to portray it as well as she said. For some reason, it really got through to me, is she was saying that what's important is to kind of detach her. And of course, you have to make money in a business for it to be a business. Let me just preface that. But she defines success as showing up for her business consistently. And so she's kind of managed to detach herself from the results that she gets, because that's where I feel like I and other people fall short, is when we're really very attached to getting clients, getting the income and all that. And then we don't want to show up because we're worried that if we show up and then we don't get the results, then that means something about us. I'm really not explaining this very well. But in any case, I titled this episode, What to Invest in Your Business to be a Success, but it's up to you to decide what that means. And I kind of like this kind of reframe as success being showing up consistently and the results will come, rather than, I don't know, making your first 10k month or whatever, which is good as well. Anyway, let's move on from success. Do tell me what you think about what success means, or any of your thoughts about this podcast episode by reaching out to me on Instagram. I'm at JLGoodenough. Which will also be in the show notes in the description. And I love receiving DMs on Instagram. So I'm going to drink a bit. So in terms of when to invest, I feel like there's kind of two ends of the spectrum. Well, there's probably more. You could probably go crazy and just buy lots of stuff. And anyway, but there's the profit first approach. And I think there's a famous book about this that I haven't read and that I probably should read. Which essentially the idea is that you invest in your business from the profit it makes. So, I don't know, you start coaching people, and then with the money that you make through coaching them, you invest in a Instagram strategy. But, I don't know, you know what I mean? So you make the money first, and then you invest it in your business, which is probably wiser from a financial point of view. By the way, none of this is financial advice. Don't come and sue me. Anyway, so that's one perspective, is profit first. You make the money and then you invest it in your business. The other kind of flip side is thinking about investment as an upfront investment in your business. So we do this in lots of ways. I feel like maybe a lot of the people listening have maybe a bachelor's degree, possibly a master's degree. I know that I have a bachelor's degree, master's degree, and half a PhD. Though the PhD, they pay you to do it most of the time. And nobody questions whether that's, well, people are starting to question, especially in the US, but most of the time people don't question whether that's a wise thing to do. Like, to be a doctor, you first study to be a doctor. And lots of the people I'm talking to in this podcast aren't doctors and don't do things that need qualifications. However, it does sometimes help to invest upfront in education, which I'll get into, and that kind of thing. If you want to run a business, if you want to be a photographer, buying a course on photography makes sense. I'm not going to go into the obvious things with equipment. If you want to be a photographer, having a camera might help. And I know that the fancy cameras aren't cheap. That's what they're called, the technical term. The fancy cameras aren't cheap. And you might have to buy those before you can book a wedding to take the photos, or a family shoot or whatever. So you have to take that money from your savings or from your full-time job. And then eventually you can move towards the profit first approach, where you can then buy lenses. I shouldn't really have started with photography because I don't really know what I'm talking about, but you can buy nicer lenses or a nicer camera when you're making more money or more education. But sometimes you do have to put some money up front. So I'm kind of more in the upfront investment kind of camp right now, because I had our second baby almost 4 months ago. I'm looking at the calendar. Yes, almost 4 months ago now. And it's since having him that I kind of pivoted a bit to this. It wasn't a huge change, but to helping people with social media, and more specifically Instagram. So I'm very knowledgeable and I feel like I can help people, but I still want to invest in my education. And that would be the case if I was doing another job, and I'd probably invest more in my education, to be honest. But it's normalized. I don't know if I'm making any sense. Anyway. So I, for example, right now I'm enrolled in the Social Media Manager Accelerator by Latasha James. She's on YouTube as well, actually. She's big on YouTube, unlike me. But I'll link to that in the show notes if you're interested. I'm not sure if it's still open, but it starts on September 13th, so next week. And it's kind of weekly classes and that kind of thing to improve social media management skills. So I'm investing in these things so that my clients get the best service from me. But there's also free things. I mean, if you're interested in social media, there's the whole HubSpot Academy. They do free courses that are in your own time and that kind of thing. I'm not saying you have to invest when you start a business. I'm just saying that is maybe something to consider. And some people, including myself, feel a lot of shame about it and are like, oh, it's just an expensive hobby when you're not making a profit and that kind of thing. But if you reframe it, and I'm not saying go £20,000 in debt, but for your business, but for lots of things we invest up front and then eventually get the money back. Anyway, so just a little thought, and I'd love to hear your thoughts about this. Reach out to me on Instagram. I said before, I'm JL Goodenough, and I'd love to chat. What do you do? Or do you do profit first? Do you do upfront investment? A bit of both? So let's move on to the 3 categories of things that you can invest in for your business to be a success. So number 1 is tools that save time. And there's a mini rant in that, so hold on. 2, services that help you look more professional. I couldn't really title that properly, but I'll explain in a minute. And then number 3, education in mindset or strategy. So number 1, tools that save time. So I'm going to skip all the cliches about time is money and that kind of thing. But if you are finding yourself quite busy with clients and you can't, like you're running out of time and you're doing things that are very repetitive, there are many tools out there that save a lot of time. And this is where the mini rant comes in. I've been trying to book several things for different areas of my life. There's medical appointments. There's kind of a counselling thing that I want to do. And I want to get my hair done. If you're on YouTube, you can see it's a bit frizzy. If anybody knows how to make my hair less frizzy, please get in touch. Anyway, I want somebody to cut it and make it look like I've got a haircut. Anyway, all of these things So let's start with the hairdressing. No, let's start with the medical appointment. I understand. So I'm in the UK. The medical system here is called the NHS, the National Health Service. I've worked in universities, so I know how slowly things move. You have to have your own IT department, create your own tools so that you can't use public tools, blah, blah, blah. But it's really, and this is definitely a first world problem, but it's quite annoying when you want to book an appointment and you call and they say, can you do Wednesday at 11:30? And you're like, is there a later one? And they're like, yes, there's one at 11:50. And I'm like, is there another one? Yes, there's one. And it's like, oh my goodness, why are we having this conversation when you could just go through a website and still put the same information, the first line of your address and the date of birth and whatever that person on the phone is going to ask you, and then choose the appointment that they've chosen the slots that are available, but choose the appointment that works best for you. Because for us, it works better if it's either early morning or late afternoons, because if my partner is driving the kids there, then he can then go to work because he's a self-employed builder. Anyway, speaking of builders, they need tools to start off as well. You can't just show up on site and be like, oh, I don't have a hammer. No, I don't have a drill. I'm just going to do it with my hands until I make a profit. Doesn't work. Anyway, but yes, so we could do with like either the earliest or the latest slot, that kind of thing. But I don't need to have this conversation with this poor person that's on the phone. I'd just like to be able to choose, look at my calendar, look at the slots available, choose the best slot. But anyway, I understand that doesn't necessarily work in the NHS, but with the hairdressing thing, the local hairdressers doesn't even have a contact information. So you can't even call them from their website, which is big no-no, by the way. If you have a website, you need not necessarily a phone number, but well, if you are a hairdresser, probably a phone number, but you need some way of people contacting you. Anyway, what they need is Calendly. This is not an ad, but I have Calendly and I really like it. Calendly is a service. It's an online tool, and there is a free version, and I'll explain in a sec when you'd use the free version, but where you put your availability in and then people can book slots in your calendar. And this works really well as well if you've got an online business, because it, translates the times into their time zone. So it's really simple. And you don't need to keep sending emails like, oh, what's your availability? Oh, no, I can't do Tuesday, actually. They just book it in your calendar. And once they've booked a slot, that slot is no longer available. And as soon as you add something to your, this is based on you using a Google Calendar, but I'm sure there's other services that integrate with Apple or whatever, it updates. So if I add a meeting or something to a Wednesday, then people can no longer book discovery calls during that meeting. It's very, very smart. And you can have paid events as well. So, for example, my Instagram strategy sessions currently, if you book them, and I'll put the link in the show notes, if you book them, you pay through Calendly. So you pay and then you put the slot in my calendar. And I get the money through PayPal, I believe. And that's it. It's magic. We don't need to email each other. I don't need to be like, you booked a slot, but you didn't pay. So could you pay before we have the... It's all done. Anyway. So people need Calendly. And if you are in the profit first thing where you don't have the money right now to invest in your business, you can get a free version of Calendly where, in the free version, I believe, you, there's also other services like Acuity, I think, but I only know Calendly personally, where you can get people to book discovery calls with you. So that's what I was saying. In the free version of Calendly, you can only have one type of event. So in mine, there's lots of different types of events. So if you're want to do an Instagram live with me, that's only on Wednesdays. If you want to do an Instagram strategy session, you have to pay a certain amount of money and it's 90 minutes. Whereas the Instagram live, I tend to put 45 minutes in the calendar, etc., etc. Discovery calls are 15 minutes and they're free. So there's these different event types that I send different links to. But with a free version, I think you can only have one event type. But you could just have your discovery calls and have the free version. And then once you start, let's say you're a mindset coach, this is what I used to do when I actually did coaching, is you can either have people pay in full. So you have an event where they pay the full amount to book the first call, and then the next calls are different types of events that are free. Or you could have people pay in installments and they pay for each call, and you can set that all up and then it's all done. And then you don't have to have awkward conversations about people who haven't paid, and it's great. So anyway, as you can tell, I'm a big fan of Calendly, and I don't understand how in 2021 people still work in kind of backward ways. That anyway, moving on. There's other tools that also save time. I like Canva. Canva has a free version, but on the paid version, you can save your fonts and your colors, and that saves a lot of time when you're creating like a lot of Instagram graphics. And so, say if you're also managing the social media accounts of several people, being able to save their different fonts and that kind of thing, it's all great. So, and Calendly and Canva aren't very expensive. There's other tools, I'm sure, but they were the two main that came to mind about how you can save time. And Calendly saves you so much time in backwards and forwards emails. But Canva saves you time because I like to have the same colors to my graphics, kind of my brand colors, even though I'm not a brand expert, but I like it to look cohesive. And if somebody sees my stuff on Instagram, they go, Jessica. And being able to save the fonts and the colors in Canva allows me to do that. So, that was number 1, tools that save time. Number 2, services that help you look more professional. And so this is the one I don't really know how to title, but these are things that would take a long time for you to do yourself. So to learn the skill and then to do it yourself to the point where it's worth getting someone else to do it. So this is maybe a higher price point because the tools like Calendly is maybe £10 a month. Canva, I can't remember, but it's not very expensive. But it might be £9 a month. I think I pay on a yearly basis. I have no idea. Excellent money management. But it's in my spreadsheet. Anyway, the services that help you look more professional. So this would be, I'd include in this, even though it's not someone maybe doing it for you. Because I'd say, here, let's start again. If you're starting out, please don't pay, unless you're 100% certain of what you're doing, don't pay someone £3,000 to make your website. Because what might happen, I don't have the book with me, but there's a book I really like by Pat Flynn called Will It Fly, which I will link in the show notes and in the description, which is all about market research and testing your ideas. And if you have this brand new idea that you haven't done yet and you want to launch it as a business, it very likely will change. Like you'll get feedback from people, you'll learn the language that people use, that kind of thing. And it won't be the same as when you had the idea versus when you've had your first few clients. You'll update your ideas. And so if you create a whole website and maybe pay someone to do the copy, which is just writing the pages. Oh, by the way, I will link to Drashti if you do need help with your copy. Drashti is a pro. She'll be in the show notes and in the description. Anyway, but I wouldn't pay Drashti as much as I like Drashti right at the beginning of having a business, because you're just going to have to change it in a few months' time again. So these are things that maybe when you're a bit further along are worth spending time on. So I wouldn't pay someone to do your website. That can often be in the several thousands in the early days. I'd do something like what I did. I had a free theme to start off with. Then I got a paid theme. So the theme, if you don't know, for your website is kind of this is very badly explained, but like the structure and how it looks. And it can make your website look very professional, and like some people's website look crap. And when I look at someone's website and it looks really messy and it's kind of stressful to look at, I'm like, I don't necessarily, like if this is their kind of online window that people see, if this is the amount of care they put into that, then I probably won't appreciate the work that they do. Anyway, so it is important to get your website right, but that doesn't mean spending loads and loads of money. So I bought a theme a while ago, if you can remember, the living the good enough life kind of vibe on my website when it was more about lifestyle and stuff. Now I've gone back to something simple, which is a free service. Anyway, it doesn't matter because I'm going to change it again when I make a bit more money, with a show it template, which looks absolutely beautiful, that my friend Kiara uses. And obviously my website's she works in wellness and my website's a different niche and it's going to be personalized to me, so it's going to look different. But I'd count this in this category because a web designer created this template, and she makes people's websites bespoke if you ask her to, but that's a lot more money. But this kind of thing really helps you to look professional. And it'd be nice to say that we live in a world where appearances don't matter and all the rest of it, but we know that they do. So I think this can be important when you get going. But yeah, just to be mindful about the money you spend in the very early days. And similarly, when you start getting more success, I'd say things like having a brand shoot. So an actual photographer coming to take pictures of either your products or you, so that you can keep using those photos rather than scrabbling around. Having someone work on your visual identity. I'll link to my friend Virginia's details down below. That's kind of all of it, like the logo, the branding, all of the stuff. But that's when you're further along and you're quite established in your idea of what it is you want to do. Similarly, I'd happily manage someone's Instagram, but only if they know what they're doing, because otherwise if you're just starting out and figuring things out, how am I supposed to figure out for you what we're sharing to the world if you don't know who your ideal client is, what your business goals are, what your offer is? It's like, what content am I creating? Like, that's not going to work. I'm not going to manage to generate sales for you because you don't know what you're doing. So how am I supposed to know what I'm doing when I'm outside of the business? Anyway, so if you are getting clients regularly and have a regular income and know what your offers are and know who you're selling to, that is when having someone who maybe is more advanced, let's say, in making Instagram posts and engaging on Instagram, you could then pay them, and that would you'd get a return on your investment. You'd save time, but also all of these things involve saving time, but in different ways. The first one involved saving time, like actual saving time, not just like backwards and forwards emails. This involves saving time because you wouldn't have to learn as much about Instagram as what I know, but as much about creating a website as people who create templates and things. So that's the second one. And then the third one is you also save time by investing in education. So it's kind of like a shortcut to your result by learning from people who have already done the things you want to do, or who know how to do the things that you want to do. So I put mindset and strategy in this category. So I'd say that investing in education is a good idea when you reach a plateau. So you're not making more money or getting more clients and you're not really sure why, or when you're starting out. Because when you're starting out, especially if you're doing an online business, but any kind of business, it seems like there's a million different things to do. There's a million different ways of doing them. And sometimes it just helps to buy into someone's system, to just be like, I'm going to try X, and maybe, I don't know, I'm making this up now. Maybe the system is a podcast episode every week, and then there's a freebie, and then people get into your automated email list, whatever. But just not trying to do everything all at the same time. And sometimes buying a course or some coaching can really unlock, because then you kind of, this is a bit silly because we should trust ourselves to make the right decisions, but by putting kind of our confidence in someone else, you can kind of be like, I'm just going to follow Samantha. I don't know who that is, but anyway, well, I guess I do know a Samantha, but anyway, Samantha's system, and then and just trust that she knows what she's doing. You know what I mean? Even if you don't feel you know what you're doing. So, for example, you could have a mindset coach that helps you with your fear of judgment, that helps you with procrastination and all of the stuff that's kind of behind all of that. And that's what I used to do. But I also, if you don't feel like you're ready to spend, because sometimes mindset coaches can be pricier, maybe like $1,000, $1,500 typically, but there's also some that charge in pounds, I'm sure. You could get my journaling prompts. They're $7 if you buy them, follow my link. If you bought them on Etsy, I think they're $17. But they are journaling prompts for when you're feeling discouraged and unmotivated, to help you think about why that is and to try and find solutions to that. And so that's for things like when you have fear of judgment, when you're holding yourself back because you've got fear of judgment, when you're feeling like you're in the dip, so that you've been trying and trying but there's no results, when you're upper limiting, which is when you're starting to see results but then you start self-sabotaging because it feels too good to be true, that kind of thing. So I've put together some journaling prompts that help you kind of write out your thoughts. And actually, quickly on journaling, I'm no longer going to be sharing a journaling prompt at the end of each episode like I used to, as my friend Lindsay suggested me to do. But now I will be uploading in between the normal podcast episodes. I'll also upload my Instagram lives, and some of them will be journal with me sessions where we just journal together. So you can have your dose of journaling that way. And they're actually those journaling prompts. So if you listen to every single one, you could then assemble together my journaling prompt workbook, or you could just buy the journaling prompt workbook, whatever. Anyway, so you can invest in your mindset, but you could also invest in business strategy. And this really depends. Of course, if you have I'm going to make this up and not make any sense now, but if you had a bakery, there's maybe an online course in how to streamline the baking process. And that might be an easier thing to do, to just buy that course rather than make all the mistakes. And making mistakes is part of the whole business journey. But like that might just be a shortcut to get into a streamlined, efficient, money-making baking process. Similarly, if you wanted to attract more clients online and have a system to do that, rather than feeling like, oh, I'm supposed to engage and I'm supposed to create content and I'm supposed to make reels and do stories and there's all these things. What do I do with hashtags? No idea what's going on. And I keep showing up on all the things, like I keep showing up on Instagram and it's really frustrating because nothing's happening. You can invest in an Instagram strategy. So I offer Instagram strategy sessions. At the time of recording, I'm still offering 3 at £157. Then it goes up to £397. So they're 90-minute sessions where we would create your entire content and engagement strategy. It'd be quite simple. That doesn't mean it's easy, but it'd be quite simple. That leads people from not knowing who you are to potential clients through Instagram. And so it's not just one session. There's also then weekly office hours. So we do just strategy in the sessions. But then at the office hours, if you want to do anything technical, like I don't know how to film a reel, or I don't have an email freebie, or whatever that goes into this customer journey, then we can work on that together. So there's that, and also you get free access to my journaling prompts workbook, because a lot of the Instagram problems are actually in our mind. It's not knowing how to do reels or whatever. It's I'm afraid people are going to judge me or whatever. Or what if I don't get results? Going back to the whole definition of success that we discussed earlier. Anyway, so that is an example of a shortcut. Like, yes, you could piece together you could watch. Like, nothing is new. I've invented a new system in terms of how I assemble everything together. But it's information from various people and sources and inspiration. You could spend a lot of time, like I did, learning a lot about Instagram and piecing this all together. Or you could take the shortcut and I just teach you the strategy that I teach. And you start getting your clients rolling and so if you did want to book an Instagram strategy session, you could go to the link that'll be in the show notes or in the description. Or you could book a discovery call and ask any questions if you're not sure that you're ready to book just yet. But yes, so education is number 3. So number 1 was tools that save time. Number 2 was services that help you look more professional. Number 3 is education in terms of mindset or business strategy. So if this episode was helpful, please subscribe, whether you're on YouTube or listening in a podcast player, then I'll be able to see you next week. And if you are interested in investing in your business growth and finding more ideal clients and converting them as well, please book a discovery call. And I've actually got the link here. So and this shows you how Calendly works as well, as I'm now a Calendly evangelist. It's calendly.com/Jessica Goodenough/discovery. So calendly.com/Jessica Goodenough/discovery. So if you've learned anything today, get Calendly. But anyway, I hope you have a lovely rest of your week, and I'd love to chat with you over on Instagram if you found this episode helpful at JL Goodenough. Right. Bye-bye.